Jake Morrison stared out the big window of the space station. Stars filled the dark sky like tiny diamonds. He had been looking at the same view for 3 years now. Nothing ever changed. Nothing exciting ever happened. The space station harmony floated quietly in deep space. Jake was the commander, but that did not mean much anymore. His job was simple. Watch for problems. File reports. Keep everyone safe. It was boring work for a boring time. 50 years ago, things were different. Humans used to fight wars. They built big guns and fast ships. They explored dangerous places and took risks. But that was before the Great Peace Accords of 2387. Now humans were known across the galaxy as the nice guys, the helpers, the ones who talked instead of fought. Jake heard footsteps behind him. Dr. Lisa Chen walked up to stand next to him. She was the station's head scientist. She studied alien plants and animals. Her work was important, but it was also very quiet. "Another boring day," Lisa said with a tired smile. "I just finished looking at more peaceful plant samples from the Centauri colonies. They are pretty, but they do not do anything interesting." Jake nodded. "I remember reading old books about human explorers. They used to find dangerous new worlds. They fought space pirates and alien monsters. Now we catalog flowers and write safety reports." Lisa laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "My grandfather used to tell stories about the old days. He said humans were feared across the galaxy. Other species would think twice before making us angry. Now they pat us on the head like we are friendly pets." Far away from the station, Captain Ron Hayes was flying his cargo ship through empty space. His ship was called the New Dawn. It was big and slow and had no weapons at all. The Galactic Council said humans did not need weapons. They were too peaceful to ever use them. Ron had been a cargo pilot for 15 years. He carried food, medicine, and supplies to faraway places. It was honest work, but it was not exciting. Sometimes he wondered what it would be like to fly a real warship, a ship with guns and shields and the power to fight back. His computer beeped. A message was coming in from the shipping company. Another routine delivery to another quiet outpost. Ron sighed and changed course. Just another day in the peaceful galaxy. On Earth, General Amanda Clark sat in her office looking at papers. The papers were full of plans for humanitarian missions, food drops to hungry planets, medical aid to sick colonies, disaster relief for places hit by storms or earthquakes. Amanda had joined the military 20 years ago, but the human military was not like the old stories. They did not have battleships or assault troops. They had cargo planes and medical teams. Their weapons were designed to stun, not kill. Their job was to help people, not fight enemies. Sometimes, Amanda wondered if this was what humans were supposed to be. In school, they learned about the old wars, the battles that made humans strong, the fights that taught them to never give up. But those days were over. Humans had evolved beyond violence, or so everyone said. The other species in the galaxy liked humans this way. The tall, thin Altarians with their crystal ships thought humans were useful helpers. The energy-based Zephyrians appreciated human diplomatic skills. The wise, slow Morgothi valued human patience. But none of them respected humans. Not really. They saw humans as junior partners, useful but not important. Strong enough to do the work, but too gentle to be dangerous. The truth was more complicated. Humans had not forgotten how to fight. They had simply chosen not to. The weapons were still there, locked away in secret places. The knowledge was still there, hidden in classified files. The instincts were still there, buried deep but not gone. Dr. Lisa Chen knew some of this. Her real job was not just studying plants. She also kept records of biological weapons research. Not to build weapons, but to make sure the knowledge did not disappear, just in case. Captain Ron Hayes knew some of this too. His cargo ship had hidden spaces where weapons could be installed quickly. The plans were there. The materials were ready. But no one talked about it. General Amanda Clark knew most of it. In secret bunkers on Earth, old weapons waited in storage. In hidden labs, scientists studied war instead of peace. In quiet training grounds, A few soldiers learned the old ways of fighting, but it was all theoretical. Practice for a war that would never come. The galaxy was peaceful. The humans were harmless. Everyone knew this. It had been true for 50 years. But deep in the empty spaces between stars, something else was watching. Something ancient and hungry. The Vrak Collective had been sleeping for 1,000 years, waiting for the right time to wake up. They had watched the galaxy grow soft and comfortable. They had seen the humans become gentle. The Vrak were not like other species. They did not want to trade or talk or make friends. They did not care about peace or treaties or rules. They only wanted one thing: to consume, to grow, to turn all other life into part of themselves. For centuries they had waited and planned. They had studied every species, every world, every weakness. They knew exactly how to destroy the galaxy's defenses. They knew which species to hit first. They knew which ones to save for last. And they knew that humans, the galaxy's peacekeepers, would be the easiest targets of all. The Vrak did not understand humans. They had only seen 50 years of peace and gentleness. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans had forgotten how to fight. They thought humans would surrender quickly when the real war began. They were about to learn how wrong they were. But first, the galaxy had to burn. The alarm on Harmony Station screamed like a dying animal. Jake Morrison ran to the control room as red lights flashed everywhere. His crew was already at their stations, faces pale with fear. "What is happening?" Jake shouted over the noise. Lieutenant Bob Turner pointed at his screen. "We are getting distress calls from everywhere. Colonies, trade ships, entire star systems. They are all screaming for help." Jake looked at the main display. Dozens of red dots showed places where the calls were coming from. More red dots appeared, every few seconds. "Show me the first one," he said. The screen changed to show a recording from New Sparta Colony. The image was shaky and filled with static. A woman's voice was screaming. "They came out of nowhere. Big ships that look like insects. They are not talking to us. They are just taking everything. People, buildings, everything. Please help us." The recording cut to black. "Next one," Jake said quietly. This time it was from a cargo ship. The captain was crying as he spoke. "My crew is gone. These things, they absorbed them. Just touched them, and they became part of the ship. The ship is alive. It is eating everything." More recordings played. Each one was worse than the last. Entire worlds going silent. Ships disappearing. Millions of people vanishing without a trace. Dr. Lisa Chen studied the data coming in. Her hands shook as she worked. "Jake, this is not a normal attack. Look at these patterns. They are not trying to conquer anything. They are consuming it. Everything organic is being absorbed. All the energy is being taken. It is like they are turning entire planets into fuel." On his cargo ship, Captain Ron Hayes received an emergency message from Earth Command. His hands went cold as he read it. All civilian ships were ordered to help with rescue operations. The message was short and simple, but Ron could read between the lines. Something terrible was happening. He changed course toward the Tau Ceti system. 3 colonies there had gone silent in the last hour. Maybe there were survivors who needed help. When Ron arrived, he found nothing. The colonies were gone, not destroyed, but gone. Empty spaces where cities used to be. The planets looked like someone had scraped them clean. Even the oceans were smaller. His radio crackled. "This is Colonel Steve Parker on emergency broadcast. Any human ships in the area, please respond." Ron answered quickly. "This is Captain Hayes on the cargo ship New Dawn. Where are you?" "Hiding in an asteroid field near the 4th planet. We have about 50 survivors from the New Sparta colony. Can you help us?" Ron found them an hour later. The survivors were crammed into a small research ship that was never meant to hold so many people. Colonel Parker was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. But there was something else in those eyes, something hard and angry. "What did this?" Ron asked as the survivors came aboard his ship. "They call themselves the Vrak," Parker said. "I was on New Sparta when they hit. Their ships are like nothing I have ever seen. Big organic things that pulse and move like they are alive. Because they are alive. Parker sat down heavily. I used to be in the military back before the peace accords. I fought in the last real war humans had. These things, they are not like any enemy we faced back then. They do not want to win. They want to eat everything. On Earth, the emergency meetings had been going on for 12 hours. President Nancy Ford sat at the head of a long table surrounded by generals, scientists, and politicians. The reports kept getting worse. General Amanda Clark stood up to speak. Her voice was steady, but her face was grim. The attack started 6 hours ago. We have lost contact with 47 colonies, 12 space stations, and over 300 ships. The Galactic Council's forces are being destroyed faster than they can respond. A politician raised his hand. What about negotiations? Have we tried talking to these Vrak? General Clark stared at him. Senator, they do not talk, they consume. You cannot negotiate with a forest fire. You cannot reason with a plague. These things see all other life as food. Another voice spoke up. What about our allies? The Altarians have powerful ships. The Altarians lost half their fleet in the first attack, Clark replied. Their crystal ships are beautiful but fragile. The Zephyrians' energy weapons barely scratch the Vrak bioships. The Morgathi are too slow to respond effectively. President Ford looked around the table. Options? We have two choices, General. Clark said quietly. We can evacuate as many humans as possible and hope the Vrak get full before they find us. Or we can fight. Fight with what? The senator asked. Our ships do not have real weapons. Our military is designed for peacekeeping, not war. General Clark was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice so low everyone had to lean forward to hear. That is not entirely true. The room went silent. For 50 years, we have told ourselves that humans evolved beyond violence. We built our society on peace and cooperation. But some of us remembered that peace only works when everyone wants peace. We kept the old knowledge alive just in case. She activated a holographic display. Secret facilities appeared on the map. Hidden labs. Classified research stations. Weapons that were not supposed to exist. We have been preparing for this day since the peace accords were signed. Not because we wanted war, but because we knew that someday, someone would force war on us. The room erupted in angry voices. Politicians shouted about illegal weapons programs. Scientists demanded to know why they were not told. Military officers asked why they were kept in the dark. President Ford slammed her hand on the table. The room went quiet again. The only question that matters now is simple, she said. Do we want to survive? Or do we want to be eaten? Another alarm went off. An aide ran into the room with a tablet. Madam President, the Vrak have entered human space. They just destroyed the colony at Wolf 359. 15 million people. President Ford stood up. Her decision was made. Send the order to all human worlds, all stations, all ships. By authority of the Terran Emergency Council, all restrictions on military research and development are lifted. All citizens with relevant skills report for immediate conscription. All secret programs are now active. She looked around the room at the shocked faces. Humanity is going to war, and this time we are not going to be nice about it. The transformation began immediately. Across human space, hidden doors opened. Secret labs came online. Weapons that had existed only in theory became real. The galaxy was about to remember why humans had needed to learn peace in the first place. The Vrak had made one critical mistake. They thought they knew what humans were capable of. They were about to learn the truth. The secret doors opened all across human space. Dr. Lisa Chen could not believe what she was seeing. Hidden rooms in Harmony Station that she never knew existed. Labs filled with equipment she had never seen before. And people. Lots of people. She thought she knew, but apparently did not know at all. Dr. Gary Webb walked up to her with a smile that was not friendly. Lisa had worked with him for 2 years. She thought he studied peaceful alien plants just like she did. But now he was wearing a military uniform and carrying files marked with warnings about biological weapons. Surprised, Lisa? Gary asked. You always wondered why your plant research got such good funding. Now you know. We were not just studying how alien plants grow, we were studying how to kill them. Lisa felt sick. You mean all this time while we were pretending to be peaceful scientists? Some of us were keeping the real knowledge alive, Gary finished. Did you really think humans forgot how to fight? We just got very good at hiding it. He handed her a tablet. The screen showed weapon designs that made her blood run cold. Viruses that could attack alien biology. Chemicals that could dissolve. Bioships, weapons designed to turn the enemy's own life against them. We need you, Lisa. Your plant research was actually perfect training for biological warfare. You understand alien life better than almost anyone. Help us kill it. At the Luna, shipyards near Earth, something amazing was happening. Captain Ron Hayes stood on the observation deck watching workers build the first new human warship in 50 years. It did not look anything like the peaceful cargo ships he was used to. The ship was long and dark and covered with weapons. Its hull was designed to deflect energy blasts. Its engines were built for speed and quick turns. Everything about it screamed danger. Beautiful, is she not? Ron turned to see Admiral Kate Phillips walking up behind him. She was wearing a uniform he had never seen before. Dark blue with silver markings that looked almost predatory. I thought you were in charge of the merchant marine, Ron said. Kate smiled. That was my day job. My real job was designing warships that we hoped we would never need to build. This beauty is the UHS Retribution. She will be ready for combat. In 3 days. 3 days. How is that possible? We have been building the parts for years. We just never put them together before. Every civilian shipyard in human space has been secretly ready to switch to military production. We just had to give the word. Kate looked out at the ship. Ron, I want you to captain one of the new frigates. Your cargo hauling experience makes you perfect for the job. You know how to move ships through tight spaces. You understand supply lines. And most importantly, you are not afraid of hard work. Ron stared at her. You want me to command a warship? I want you to command the UHS Stormbreaker. She is smaller than the Retribution, but faster and meaner. What do you say? Ron thought about the empty planets he had seen. The survivors crammed into his cargo ship, the fear in their eyes. When do I start? On Mars, Colonel Steve Parker stood in front of 300 volunteers. They had all answered the call for military service. But these were not the peaceful humans the galaxy knew. These people had angry eyes and hard faces. They looked like they were ready to hurt someone. You all know why you are here, Parker said. The galaxy thinks humans are soft. They think we forgot how to fight. They are about to learn how wrong they are. He walked back and forth in front of the group. For 50 years we taught our children to be nice, to share, to talk instead of fight. Those are good lessons, but we never taught them the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the only way to protect nice people is to be very, very mean to bad people. A young woman raised her hand. Sir, what exactly are we going to do? Parker smiled, but it was not a nice smile. We are going to board enemy ships and fight them corridor by corridor. We are going to show the Vrak what humans are like when we stop caring about being polite. We are going to be the nightmare that alien mothers use to scare their children. The training began immediately, but it was not like the old peacekeeping training. This was training for war, real war, the kind of war where the only rule was to win. General Amanda Clark stood in the Pentagon's deepest basement. Rooms that officially did not exist were now buzzing with activity. Scientists worked on weapons that were not supposed to be possible. Engineers designed ships that should not exist. Tacticians planned battles using strategies that were forbidden. Status report, she asked her aide. Ma'am, Project Nightfall is ahead of schedule. The new plasma cannons will be ready in 48 hours. Project Reaper has produced the first batch of hunter-killer drones. And Project Overkill? The aide paused. What about Project Overkill? The Planet Cracker missiles are ready for deployment. All 12 of them. Clark nodded grimly. Planet Crackers were weapons that could destroy entire worlds. They had been built in secret 20 years ago, just in case humanity ever faced an enemy that could not be reasoned with. Good. What about our allies? The aide looked uncomfortable. The Altarians have filed a formal protest about our militarization. They are calling it dangerous and unnecessary. The Zephyrians want us to share our new weapon technology with them. The Morgathi are asking us to reconsider our aggressive posture. Our response? You told me to tell them we tried their way and it did not work. Across human space, the transformation continued. Factories that made farming equipment started making ammunition. Research stations that studied medicine began developing poisons. Even schools were teaching different lessons. Children learned about tactics and strategy alongside math and science. The change was not just in weapons and ships, it was in the people themselves. Humans who had spent their lives being polite and careful were remembering something deeper. Something that their ancestors had known on the African plains millions of years ago. Sometimes you had to fight to survive. Captain Ron Hayes took command of the Stormbreaker 3 days later. The ship felt different from anything he had ever flown. Every system was designed for combat. The bridge had armor plating. The engines could push the ship to dangerous speeds. The weapons could crack mountains. But the biggest change was in the crew. These were not the friendly, helpful humans the galaxy knew. These were humans with war paint in their eyes and violence in their hearts. They looked like they belonged on a warship. "Captain," his weapons officer reported, "we are receiving orders from Fleet Command. The Vrak have been spotted near the War Kepler Junction. We are to join the Defense Force." Ron sat in his captain's chair and felt something he had never felt before. He felt dangerous. He felt predatory. He felt like a human who had stopped pretending to be tame. "Set course for Kepler Junction," he ordered. "Maximum speed. It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you make humans angry." The galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Humans had not become peaceful because they were weak. They had become peaceful because they were strong enough to choose peace. But when peace was no longer an option, humans remembered why their ancestors had conquered their world in the first place. The Vrak wanted to see what humans were like when they stopped being nice. They were about to find out. The Kepler Junction was the most important crossroads in known space. 12 different hyperspace routes met there, making it the perfect place to control trade and movement between star systems. The Vrak knew this. They needed the junction to spread their attack across the entire galaxy. They expected to find a few frightened defense ships waiting for them. Maybe some Altarian crystal cruisers or Zephyrian energy vessels. Easy targets that would break quickly under assault. Instead, they found 12 human warships waiting in perfect formation. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the UHS Vindication. It was a heavy cruiser, 3 times the size of his old research station, and covered with weapons that could melt asteroids. His crew was tense but ready. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, even if they had not known it. "Vrak, fleet detected," his sensor officer reported. 30 bioships, various sizes. "They are big, sir, really big." Jake looked at the main screen. The Vrak ships were nightmare creatures made real. They looked like giant insects crossed with cancerous growths. Their hulls pulsed and writhed like living tissue. Dark tentacles whipped through space around them. They did not look like ships at all. They looked like predators. "All human ships, this is Morrison," Jake announced on the fleet channel. "You all know what these things did to our colonies. You know what they did to our people. Today, we show them what happens when they make humans angry." Captain Ron Hayes listened to Morrison's words from the bridge of his frigate Stormbreaker. His ship was smaller than the Vindication, but faster and more agile. His crew was ready. They had been practicing combat maneuvers for weeks, but now it was real. "They are not talking to us," his communications officer said. "No demands, no threats, nothing. They are just coming straight at us." "Good," Ron replied. "I was not in the mood to chat anyway." The Vrak fleet moved forward like a swarm of giant space beetles. They had destroyed every fleet they had faced. So far, their bioships could absorb energy weapons and grow stronger. Their hulls could repair themselves. Their weapons could dissolve matter at the molecular level, but they had never fought humans before. Jake Morrison opened a channel to all human ships. "Remember your training. These things are tough, But they are not invincible. Target their weak spots, stay mobile, and do not let them touch you. The battle began when the Vrak opened fire. Streams of acid shot through space toward the human ships. Energy beams that could melt steel reached out like hungry fingers. Biomissiles that looked like flying worms spun through the void. The human ships scattered like leaves in a storm. But it was not panic. It was tactics. Captain Ron Hayes pushed his Stormbreaker into a spinning dive that brought him under the Vrak formation. His weapons officer fired a spread of plasma torpedoes into the belly of the nearest bioship. The creature screamed across all radio frequencies as its hull burst open. "That is for New Sparta," Ron muttered. Dr. Lisa Chen was aboard the Science vessel Discovery, but this was not a peaceful research mission. Her ship was loaded with biological weapons that she had helped design. Viruses created specifically to attack Vrak bioships. Chemicals that could poison their living hulls. "Firing biotorpedoes," she announced, as her ship launched a salvo of modified missiles. Each one carried a different poison. When they hit the Vrak ships, the alien hulls began to bubble and dissolve. The Vrak had expected the humans to fight like other species. Stand in formation, trade shots, follow predictable patterns. Instead, the human ships moved like a pack of wolves. They struck from unexpected angles. They used tactics that made no sense until it was too late. Commander Morrison brought his heavy cruiser around behind the largest Vrak ship. His main guns fired in sequence, punching holes through the creature's spine. "This is for every human child these things killed," he said quietly. The Vrak began to realize they were in trouble. Their bioships tried to adapt to the human weapons, but the humans kept changing tactics. Every time the Vrak figured out one attack pattern, the humans switched to something else. Colonel Steve Parker was aboard the assault ship Fury with his Marines. Their job was to board damaged Vrak vessels and finish them off from the inside. It was dangerous work, but Parker's people were ready for it. "Boarding torpedoes away," the pilot announced as armored pods shot toward a crippled Vrak bioship. Parker and his Marines crashed through the alien hull and found themselves inside a nightmare. The corridors were alive, pulsing with veins and breathing with unseen lungs. The walls tried to grab them, the floor tried to digest their boots. "Light it up," Parker ordered. His Marines opened fire with weapons designed for close combat inside, living ships. Plasma flames burned through the alien tissue. Acid sprays dissolved the grasping tentacles. In minutes, the bioship was dying from the inside out. The space battle raged for 2 hours. The Vrak threw everything they had at the human fleet, but for every human ship they damaged, the humans destroyed 2 of theirs. The aliens' ability to absorb energy was useless against kinetic weapons. Their self-repair systems could not handle biological poisons. Their swarm tactics fell apart against human coordination. Captain Ron Hayes found himself facing 3 Vrak bioships at once. His Stormbreaker was fast, but not fast enough to avoid all their attacks. His shields were failing. "Sir, we need to retreat," his first officer said. "Negative," Ron replied. "I have an idea." He flew his ship straight at the largest Vrak vessel, as if he was going to ram it. The bioship opened its mouth-like weapon ports to swallow the human frigate. At the last second, Ron pulled up and flew along the creature's spine, firing his weapons into every weak spot he could find. The Vrak ship convulsed and died. Dr. Lisa Chen watched the battle from her science ship and realized something important. The Vrak were not just losing. They were losing badly. Their formation was breaking apart. Their coordination was failing. They were starting to panic. "All ships," she broadcast. "The Vrak are breaking. Press the attack now." The human fleet moved, in for the kill. 12 ships against the remaining Vrak vessels. But it was not even close to fair. The humans had spent 50 years learning to be peaceful, but they had never forgotten how to be efficient killers. When the battle ended, 27 Vrak bioships were dead or dying. The remaining 3 were fleeing as fast as they could move. The human fleet had not lost a single ship. Commander Morrison opened a channel to all human vessels. "Well done, everyone. I think we just sent a message to the galaxy." The message was simple. Humans had spent 50 years being nice because they chose to be nice. But when forced to fight, they were very, very good at it. News of the victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. The peaceful humans had not just fought back against the unstoppable Vrak, they had crushed them completely. On Altarian Prime, the crystal beings watched the battle recordings in shocked silence. On Zephyrian homeworlds, energy creatures flickered with amazement. On Morgathi colonies, the wise slugs pondered what this meant for galactic politics. The humans were no longer the galaxy's harmless helpers. They were something much more dangerous. They were humans who had stopped pretending to be tame. The Vrak Collective received the news of their defeat with cold fury. These humans were not supposed to be able to fight back. They were supposed to be easy prey. Instead, they had become a threat that needed to be eliminated immediately. The Vrak began gathering their entire fleet, every bioship, every weapon, every tool of destruction they possessed. They would crush humanity completely and use their remains to fuel the next stage of galactic consumption. But they still did not understand what they were really facing. The battle at Kepler Junction was not humanity's best effort. It was just humanity getting warmed up. The real war was about to begin. The Vrak came for Earth with everything they had. 1,000 bioships filled the space around humanity's home system. They were massive creatures, some as big as cities, all hungry for revenge. The collective mind that controlled them burned with fury. The humans had embarrassed them at Kepler Junction. Now the humans would pay. Admiral Kate Phillips stood in the command center on Luna, watching the enemy fleet through the big screens. She had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. 30 years building weapons and ships in secret. 30 years hoping this day would never come. Enemy fleet size confirmed, her aide reported. 1,000 bioships of various classes. This is their entire force, Admiral. Everything they have. Kate nodded grimly. And our fleet? 300 ships ready for combat. All human crews. All armed with our latest weapons. The numbers looked bad. 3 ships for every one of theirs. But Kate was not worried about numbers. She was thinking about something else entirely. Commander Jake Morrison was aboard his flagship Vindication, leading the main battle group. His crew was calm and ready. They had tasted victory at Kepler Junction. They knew they could beat the Vrak. All ships prepare for combat, Jake announced on the fleet channel. Today we end this war. Today we show the galaxy what humans are really made of. Captain Ron Hayes listened from his frigate Stormbreaker. His ship had been upgraded since the last battle. New weapons, stronger shields, faster engines. But the most important upgrade was in the crew. They looked like predators now, like humans who had remembered what they were capable of. The Vrak fleet moved toward Earth like a dark wave. Their bioships pulsed with alien life. Tentacles writhed through space. Weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. They had learned from their defeat at Kepler Junction. This time they would not underestimate the humans. But the humans had learned too. Dr. Lisa Chen was no longer aboard a science vessel. She was now the chief biological warfare officer aboard the battleship Nemesis. Her weapons were not designed to study alien life. They were designed to kill it in the most efficient ways possible. Bioweapon pods loaded and ready, she reported. All viral agents are active. Chemical dispersal systems online. The first shots of the battle came from the Vrak. Streams of acid and dissolving beams reached across space toward the human fleet. The aliens expected the humans to scatter like they had before. Instead, the human ships formed a perfect wall and returned fire. The space between the two fleets lit up with weapons fire. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, energy beams, and biological weapons filled the void. But something was different this time. The humans were not just fighting to win. They were fighting with a cold, calculated fury that made the Vrak Collective mind shiver. Commander Morrison brought his heavy cruiser into the center of the enemy formation. His weapons fired continuously, punching holes through bioship after bioship. "This is for every colony you destroyed," he said quietly. Captain Ron Hayes led a squadron of frigates in a flanking maneuver that the Vrak never saw coming. They appeared behind the enemy formation and began tearing apart the smaller bioships. "And this is for every child you killed," Ron added. But the real surprise was not the human tactics or weapons. It was Colonel Steve Parker's plan. While the main fleets battled in space, Parker and his Marines had been doing something impossible. They had been boarding the largest wrack bioships and fighting their way to the command centers. Not to destroy the ships, but to cut their connections to the collective mind. "Charges placed on bioship Alpha 7, Parker reported through his comm system. "Severing neural links now. When the charges exploded, something amazing happened. The bioship stopped moving in coordination with the others. It began acting on its own, confused and afraid. Parker's teams had been doing this to dozens of bioships across the enemy fleet. One by one, they were breaking the collective mind that controlled the wrack. Admiral Phillips watched from Luna as the enemy formation began to fall apart. "Now," she ordered, "execute Plan Omega." Plan Omega was humanity's final card. Hidden weapons platforms throughout the solar system came online. Massive railguns that could fire projectiles at nearly the speed of light. Planet-killer missiles that had been waiting in storage for decades. And something else. Something that made even the human crews nervous. The planet cracker weapons. 12 missiles launched from hidden bases. Each one was designed to shatter entire worlds. But they were not aimed at planets. They were aimed at the largest concentration of rock bioships. The explosions could be seen from Mars. When the light faded, 200 wrack vessels were gone. Just gone. Not destroyed, but completely erased from existence. The remaining wrack ships tried to retreat, but they found human vessels waiting for them at every escape route. The humans had planned this battle perfectly. Every angle covered. Every possibility prepared for. Dr. Lisa Chen released her biological weapons into the enemy formation. Viruses that attacked wrack nervous systems. Chemicals that dissolved their bioship hulls. Organisms that turned the aliens' own life processes against them. It was warfare at the most fundamental level. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Vrak Collective was extinct. Not defeated, not retreating, but completely destroyed. Every bioship was dead. Every trace of their civilization was gone. Commander Morrison opened a channel to all human ships. "The war is over, we have won." But winning was not enough for humanity. They had learned something important during the war. Peace was only possible when everyone chose peace. When someone chose war instead, humans were very good at giving them what they wanted. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The unstoppable Vrak Collective was gone. The peaceful humans had not just defended themselves, they had committed complete genocide against their enemies. The other species reacted with a mixture of awe and terror. The Altarians sent diplomatic messages begging for continued friendship. The Zephyrians offered trade agreements that heavily favored humanity. The Morgathi simply acknowledged that they had been wrong about humans all along. President Nancy Ford addressed the Galactic Council from Earth. Her words were broadcast to every world in known space. For 50 years, humanity chose to be peaceful. We chose to be helpers and mediators. We chose to solve problems with words instead of weapons. We did this not because we were weak, but because we were strong enough to choose peace. She paused, looking directly into the camera. But when you threaten our existence, when you try to destroy everything we have built, you will discover what we really are. We are the species that climbed to the top of the food chain on a death world. We are the ones who conquered our own solar system through determination and violence. We learned to be peaceful because we remembered what we were like when we were not. The message was clear. Humanity preferred peace. They would work for peace. They would sacrifice for peace. But if someone forced war upon them, humans would be very, very good at war. In the months that followed, the galaxy became a more peaceful place. Not because everyone suddenly became nice, but because everyone remembered what happened when they were not. Human ships returned to their roles as cargo haulers and research vessels. Human scientists went back to studying plants and peaceful discoveries. Human diplomats continued mediating disputes and arranging treaties. But now, alongside the peaceful ships, human warships patrolled the space lanes. A reminder to everyone that humanity's greatest strength was not their capacity for violence. It was their wisdom in choosing when to use it. Commander Jake Morrison returned to his research station. Dr. Lisa Chen went back to studying alien biology for peaceful purposes. Captain Ron Hayes resumed hauling cargo between the stars. But they all remembered. The galaxy remembered. And in the deep places where new threats might someday emerge, that memory would keep the peace for generations to come. The humans had given the galaxy exactly what it needed. A demonstration that some things were worth fighting for, and that there were still people willing to do the fighting. The galaxy was safer because everyone knew what happened when you made humans stop being nice.